Some people like headphones. We actually haven't even used them yet, so I was like, you never know. Some people will want them because some people will like the sound of their voice and like what they're saying and talking, and it helps them hear the conversation better and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of like the
You
whole
mean the
gist
guest
of
or the headphones sometimes?
the guest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll like the hearing their own voice as they share and
I want to
stuff.
hear my voice.
Say I'm hit or miss on that. I don't know if I was like, eh.
That never sounds like me.
It's optional. It's an optional thing. So, but yeah, man. Well, it's super good that you're taking time out of your crazy, hectic, coffee living life, business owner, entrepreneur, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And go ahead and you can look in any camera if you want, but if you want to give yourself a quick introductory, letting people know who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Sam. Appreciate it. I'm Todd Daughenbaugh. I'm the owner of Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery in downtown Delaware.
And how many years have you been there now?
It will be 9 years in July.
Does
We
it feel like 9 years?
feels like 29 years.
Oh, that's so funny. I was trying to remember when you opened up shop, and I thought you were there for at least 12, but it's been 9 years.
July of 2016.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And things are coasting good and
Yeah, they're starting to come back. We've had an interesting history because you think about most businesses, the first 3 years, are really tough, right? Most
yep,
most businesses go out of business in the first 3 years.
right.
Um, so you think 17, 18, 19, right?
hmm
And we were gung ho for 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had one of our best Januaries and Februaries in 2020,
Okay.
and then March hit with the
The
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the
How did
old
you
wrench in
navigate
that.
that?
COVID? Oh
Yeah.
boy, that was interesting. Fortunately, our model was mostly takeout, right? We do have some seating in the back and a little bit up front or whatever, but
Yep.
majority of our sales are takeout. So we
Okay.
were able to stay open for takeout, but with the first 2 months, our sales dropped probably 60%,
Wow.
even with the takeout because
Yeah.
people didn't know what to do. It was all new and
Right.
crazy and scary, um, and then gradually we were able to we cut hours,
Mhm.
laid off staff, shrunk the menu,
Mhm.
everything we could do just to bare minimum stay
Yeah.
open. And so we're able to kind of get on solid footing. And then that's where I was able to kind of take a look around, right? I was like, okay, Fresh Start's gonna make it, right? It's
Right.
not great,
Right.
but we're not going out of business. And so I kind of lifted my head up and looked around and saw what it was doing to the other businesses downtown, and it was just scary. It's like,
Mm.
well, if who doesn't matter if we make it if nobody else does, right?
Right.
No one's going to be coming downtown.
Yeah.
So it was pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. For at least brick and mortars during that time, like how frightening it was. But I do remember a certain point businesses started marketing more like, "Hey, we are providing takeout." And I
Mhm.
think it was during that time, I don't know if Susie Biebler was in charge, but at the time, but they like kind of reserved takeout positions in front of businesses.
Yeah.
That way cars could just pull up, get
Hmm.
their takeout and then leave.
Yeah,
And
we did a lot of curbside, and we had
yeah.
a quick spot, and we had parking in the back, so people would still
Okay.
jump in the from the back door. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's crazy. So then a couple years of COVID, and so now we're finally getting to the point where we're. I mean, I don't think people understand what COVID did to a business,
Yeah.
right? I mean, for most people, it's over,
Mhm.
right? But for small businesses, especially, you'll never get that. You'll never catch up, right?
Right.
You're always going to be way behind
Yep.
because we still had to pay the mortgage, still had to pay the
Oh
utilities, still
yeah.
had to pay the whatever. So, we're most of us, took out a bunch of loans, so we're trying to pay those off now.
Yeah.
Um, there were some programs that were help, the PPP was good.
Yep. Yeah.
That was helpful, and we didn't have to pay that back, but it wasn't a lot of money. Not
Right.
not someone my size, it wasn't. Some of
Right.
these corporations got a lot of money, but
Yeah.
we didn't. So yeah, so I think we're finally I think this is the year we're finally turning it around to say it's behind us.
Good.
So
That's exciting. I'm
yeah.
sure you're excited for
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. I'm really
I
excited.
like it. When you so going to the very beginning, we started off like a real heavy topic with
Yes.
that. So to get back on that light track and kind of build the momentum of things, uh, so what did you do before Fresh Start, and what gave you the idea to open Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery?
So my background is in accounting and finance.
Okay.
So I graduated Ohio State with a degree in both accounting and finance as a CPA.
Okay.
Started out doing auditing and then went into government accounting. So I worked for the city of Upper Arlington for a few
Oh,
years.
okay.
And then I spent the 13 years with the Columbus Metropolitan Library.
Oh,
So
okay.
running their finance department. I reported directly to the CFO and ran all their finance operations and
Oh,
everything.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it was a major operation
Oh,
too.
I'm sure.
People don't realize all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes
For a library too,
for a
of
library.
that
Yeah,
size as
that
well.
size, it's
Yeah.
amazing. Um, but it's just I'd gotten to the point where I was kind of stagnant where I was at. I wasn't. I didn't see myself moving up. Once you start going into the C-suite, especially in Columbus, it starts to get political, and
Okay.
I'm just not into doing that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going up. I really didn't want to start over at another firm or go back to audit or something like that.
Okay.
So it just kind of was like, what do I want to do? And
Yeah.
it was right around when downtown Delaware was really starting to go through revitalization.
Mm,
We just had brought in a few new restaurants and some stores were opening and storefronts were, there's a lot of storefronts that were closed down at the time and people were coming in and so I talked to my wife. I said, maybe we can open a business here
mm.
because we had lived in Delaware since 2002, and
Oh, okay.
this is 2015. But I knew nothing about I tell people I lived in Columbus, slept in Delaware, right?
Okay.
Every day I went to downtown Columbus,
Yeah.
right? And it was dark when I left, and it was dark when I got home.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, my wife and my kids were growing up in Delaware, and I said, I just need to connect to this community. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So we just started looking. No idea really what we're going to do. I knew I didn't want to do an accounting firm, right?
Yeah.
I just like I had enough of that.
You were ready for the
I
change
was
of
ready
like,
for something.
yeah.
And so, do you remember Bueller's grocery store? It was a regional
Yes.
grocery store.
Yeah.
Bueller's announced they were closing their Delaware store,
Yep.
and there was a major outcry about the bakery,
Yeah.
right? Well, that's where we get our cakes. That's where we get all of our stuff, whatever.
Yep.
And my wife looked at me and said, "Looks like Delaware needs a bakery." And that's how it started.
That's so fun.
Hey, now we know what we're going to do. Let's do it.
Okay. So that was like the foundation of going, okay, we know we're gonna at least open up a bakery.
Yep.
And I'm not familiar besides like Kroger or Mart, the major chains. Is there another bakery in downtown? Like, are there other local small bakeries besides you guys?
Well, there is now. Cosaminos just opened within the
Cosaminos.
last year,
Okay.
and they do a different style. It's more of a different uh, ethnicity of pastries that we do, so
Okay.
it's totally different. It's very good, by the way.
Yeah.
And then there's places that have pastries,
Okay.
like Chow Cafe on the corner.
Yeah.
They bring in donuts, I think, from oh, what the heck is it? In Plain City.
Oof, I would not know
Yeah.
that. But they bring in
They bring in
they
some
bring
really
in
it's
stuff.
a
Yeah.
well-known name, and, my brain's losing
Yeah.
it, but
It,
anyway,
it
people out
happens.
there, you know what I'm talking about, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
anyway,
So
so they bring in stuff like that, so you can get pastries and things
okay.
other but.
What I don't know themes or whatnot, but like what's the style or theme for like your bakery? Like how would you what would you classify that under?
Well, right now, I'd classify it as hodgepodge.
Hodgepodge, just a little bit of everything,
Well,
but it's all fresh and it's
oh,
handmade.
it's all
Like
made from
everything is
everything is made from scratch. It's
yeah.
all the pastries are made daily. The desserts they turn over so fast. I mean, they have a longer shelf life than a
Yeah.
day, but they're always fresh. But really, the evolution of our bakery has been kind of crazy. We started out it's kind of good timing to talk about this because I just had a meeting with my leadership team last week about what kind of bakery are we and
Oh,
what are we
okay.
going to be, right? So we really started out, Sam, as a bakery that sold coffee, right? Because we
Yep.
paired the coffee with the coffee shop with the bakery. And really, when COVID hit, and like I said, we cut back on so much stuff
Yeah.
that now we're really more of a coffee shop that sells pastries.
Interesting.
And I want to get back to more of a bakery
Okay.
and and a coffee shop, right? They're both great, but
Yeah.
so we just had that conversation. So I don't know what I don't have an answer yet, but
Okay.
I don't know what the
But it
future's gonna
sounds
look
like you're
like.
kinda like in a not like maybe like a little bit of a rebrand to market more of like what your business actually is, and then you'd have like the side branch of the coffee side and offer all those things?
Well, not really a rebrand, just kind of let's get back to or let's understand what our roots are, right?
Mhm.
Because we started off and it's you come into our shop now and I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but to me the case is a little sad. It's kind of empty and
Okay.
I mean the items are amazing,
Yeah.
right? So we've kind of lost that clientele that really look to us as a bakery.
Okay.
So we get people that are coming in mostly for the coffee or the sandwiches, and then they'll grab a pastry.
Okay.
So we got to figure out is that our is that what we want to be or not be? And
Right.
I think we definitely want to be a bakery. Now we just got to figure out, do we go back to what we used to do or do we do something different? So
Okay.
it's a fun time.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it can be a tricky time too because you don't wanna overdo something and then not have it work out. It's that
Yeah.
fine balance of, like, how do we navigate this for it to be what like you said, like, what your roots are to get back to, like, what originally you intended it to
Yeah.
be for.
And overthinking things is something I can
Yeah.
definitely do. I
Overanalyze
my wife will just
everything
sometimes
and
just like make a decision. Just
yep.
you've thought about this too long. Just
Yeah,
just
I
pick
oh
something.
yeah, I definitely struggle with that. I was just having a conversation with someone the other day about how I can get so in my head and overanalyze everything. But I feel like every entrepreneur does that. Like if they have certain standards that they have to do and make things happen. So like that overanalyzing is a very real thing for a lot of people who own their own businesses.
Yeah, and I think my accounting background doesn't help,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm fortunate I can look at things strategically, but
Yeah.
then when I get focused in on something, it tends to get into that minutia,
Yeah.
of, you know, crunching the numbers, right?
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we just step back and just figure out what this is going to be. So
Yeah.
I guess stay tuned. We'll see what it's going to be.
That's cool. I like it. Exciting things.
And yeah, and you have to change. We're not the same that we were when we opened, and I'm not saying we got to go back to what we were. Evolve or die, really, with
Yeah.
any small business. And we've learned along the way what works, what doesn't work.
Mm,
We've found out who our customer base is, who it's not, things like that. So,
yeah. Now, when you hire, are most of the employees you have, are they from, is it OWU? Are they mainly college students who kind of like just, are looking for side work and like that sort of thing?
so on the front of the house, the barista side,
Mm,
yeah, many of them are either OWU students or they're college students that come back for the summer when the
okay.
OWU students go home. And we've had some high school students that have been really good as well. We don't tend to do a lot of younger people, but if the right one comes along, we'll definitely
Okay.
take them. The back of the house, though, with the bakers, that's harder to fill.
Yeah.
That's a talent that I think is dying. Right?
Mm,
Made from scratch baking,
yeah.
right? It's all today is get the box of mix and add eggs and water and oil and you got a cake and that's what
Right.
people are busy and that's what we've gotten used to, that just
Go to the
quick
store, buy something
quick
pre-made
easy,
and
yeah,
yeah.
go to Kroger, go to actually back to the Bueller's story, we actually found out the Bueller's didn't make from scratch, so that
Oh,
was
no
kind of funny.
way. Okay.
We're like, oh, we're gonna be a made from scratch bakery, and all these people were, had this outcry over these products that weren't even made from
Weren't made
scratch.
from scratch.
So, but people, that's what they know,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people know
Yeah.
that. So to find people, number one, that have that talent,
Mhm.
is hard. Um, when you're in school, like if you're going to go into school for, culinary school or something like that, you have two paths, right? You have food, cook on
Mhm.
the line, right? Be a chef,
Yep.
and baking. And I don't know what the statistics are, but I would say most, if all but 1 out of 10 or whatever, go to the chef side, right?
Okay.
Baking is very scientific. It's very precise. Um, Whereas, as a chef, you get to play, right? Throw a
Yeah.
little bit of this in, try this, taste
Yeah.
this. Oh, it needs more, whatever. And you look on TV and online. That's what you see, all the chef shows. You see all
Yeah.
the people cooking online and stuff like that. There's not as nearly as much baking.
Yeah, I never thought of that between baking and chef, because I know I don't bake, but I know on the chef side, I love to be like in that chef, because I think it really gives you more freedom
Oh yeah.
to experiment. So that's that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And two, when you're running your business to bring on a chef, I feel like, and you could probably break this down to a simpler standard, but it's like we have a brand that we have to stick to with like our quality, the
Mhm.
ingredients, the style. And it's not just, oh, if you get it right once a week will be good, but it's like a everyday thing that you have to
Yeah.
perfect your craft, and, because it's your business,
Yeah.
and you want to serve quality.
Yeah. And
So, and
consistency.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you're looking for a baker, like how long, because I know I've been in your place a few times and I've been seeing the same one or two girls. So how
Mhm.
long have they been there for?
Yeah. So we have four bakers at the moment. Two of them joined us right around COVID. They got us through COVID
Okay.
actually. And they've been around for a while, and it's been really consistent and great. And then we
Okay.
just brought on another baker the end of last year. And then we have a fourth one we just brought on earlier this year, is actually a student, and is working part time,
Okay.
30 hours a week with us while he's in culinary school. So,
Oh, nice.
so he's learning and helping us kind of as a baking assistant kind of thing,
Yeah.
prep and stuff like that.
Very
So,
cool. Very cool. I'm sure that helps out too with scheduling
yeah,
as
but
well. Because what bakers get there, what, 2 a.m., 3 a.m.,
the now, well, early in the morning. I
early
don't
in the
want to.
morning.
I don't want to put a time out there. I don't want someone waiting by the door.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
They
Okay.
come in the middle of the night.
Smart man. Smart man. Okay.
But yeah, it's very early in the morning.
Yeah, with all the prepping and getting ingredients ready. And again, fresh start, like that word fresh is kind of a big,
Mhm.
big factor in what you do. Um, and so in changing gears a little bit, you now offer in the on the back end of the business, or the back end of the building, you now offer for local artists to like hang up their wall art, if they're a
Mhm.
drawer, photographer, if they're, greet or media, graphic design, all that stuff.
Mhm.
What got you started doing that?
So when we first opened, um, we didn't have the budget for decorations, right? We
Mm,
had blank walls, and for several months, it was just white walls, and just what are we going to do? And a local artist struck up a conversation with, I think, one of our staff. I don't remember exactly where it came from, but they
mm,
said, "Well, we're willing to put our stuff in here if you want, just to get something on the walls for you."
right.
And the light went off. It's like, yeah,
Like that makes
let's
sense.
bring in local artists. And
That's
then
fun.
so we decided, and so we did and put it up, and it was there for a while. And we thought, if we rotate this,
Mm,
it changes the whole look and feel of our
right.
back room every 2 months. Now
Yeah.
a brand new artist comes along, and it's like you're sitting in a totally different place.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of
That's smart.
refreshes. So
Yeah.
we do have a benefit, but I've also met so many amazing local art.
Mm.
Delaware has I think has a really hidden art community.
Delaware, I'm learning that Delaware has a lot of passionate people who want to make something happen for themselves,
Mhm.
like in that creative field and that artistic field. And I love it. I think it's a really cool thing that's happening. And yeah, and because I know I've seen a lot of businesses do it. They'll get local artists and do the thing, but I feel like with your space, because just in that back seated room, it kind of creates a different theme every 2 months for people to
Mhm.
be like, oh, something's different. It's like, oh, all the art's
All the
different.
art's
So
different, yeah.
yeah, I think that's really cool. I really like that.
Yeah, we love it. And we met so many amazing people. We've done we've had artists that were high school students. And one of my favorite stories is there was a lady, she was in her 80s,
Mm,
and she was in there with her friends and struck up a conversation. And I heard them talking about it. They're like, you ought to show your art because it had a sign up or something to, looking for artists.
mhm.
She had never shown her art in public.
Okay.
And so she did a display. First time she'd ever put it out
Oh,
in
that's so
public,
fun.
just shared it with friends and family, whatever. Very good artist. The next spring or whenever, she had a booth at the arts festival
How about
selling her
that?
work.
I love it.
So she was just loving it. She just
That
got
was like the push
that
for
was the
her
push
to
to get, and
to
she's in her
get
80s, right? And she
I
put it
love
out
it.
there like it was Grandma Moses,
Grandma Moses.
I got it
That's
there,
awesome.
but just to see, you know, uh, the joy on her face when people complimented her work,
Mm,
it was good work, and I think she had been so hard on herself to like, this isn't good enough for
right.
public display or whatever. And
Yeah.
even her friends were saying, you need to put this stuff out here.
That's so cool.
So stories like that, the community stories. That's owning a small business in a town like Delaware. So many community stories.
Mhm.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and the inspiration behind them too. Like, I know at one point I'm hoping to bring Susie Biebler on because I feel like she would have a lot of stories to kind of like share and express. Because I don't know if I know just from watching her and what she did in downtown Delaware, but she kind of like I feel like
Mm.
she revived. Like she put in the work, she put in the hours, she put
Mhm.
in the communication to like partner with a lot of people and but I think that also drove a lot of creatives to downtown or even in, the Delaware downtown area vicinity because there's like, oh, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of people and it's that for community aspect
Mhm.
that I think is really powerful. That I really enjoy being a part of and yeah, so it's always a good time. um so talk to me about your coffee because you
Okay.
used, is it still crimson
Crimson Cup.
crimson cup?
Yep.
Okay. How did you go through a process in picking out a coffee or did you go through like coffee tastings, like what was your
Mm.
process with that?
So very much like baking, I knew nothing about coffee.
Okay.
um, yeah, this doesn't sound very smart when I say it out loud, does it?
Hey, you're doing well now,
Uh,
so you
you gotta
made
learn it,
actions
right?
right,
You
yeah.
gotta learn it. Um, I love coffee. I drink coffee all day, but I never really knew anything about the coffee industry and
Mhm.
business. But I had met Greg, who's the owner of Crimson Cup,
Okay.
in a executive training course that I had gone through. It was
Okay.
a coaching thing that I had done
About
years.
coffee
No,
or
no, no, just about management. And the library sent me as an
oh,
executive,
okay.
and he was there as the owner and CEO, and
Okay.
all different businesses. And it was a multiple session kind of coaching thing or whatever we all did together. And I remember just loving his story and his the values
Mm,
that they had at Crimson Cup. And so when, so we're going to open a bakery, well, it goes with bakery, we need coffee, right? So I
right.
reached out to Greg and said, hey, I need coffee for this bakery, I'd like to use Crimson Cup.
Yeah.
Never knew anything about them. They had actually just, it was 2016, they had actually just won Roast Magazine's Roaster of the Year award.
Oh, okay.
So they had some credentials behind them, and
Right, yeah.
they were known in the region and Columbus. So I knew they had a following and a name,
Okay.
but I didn't know. I didn't do tastings and stuff. But funny story, interesting story. So I met with their salespeople that start up the new businesses or
Mhm.
whatever, and we chatted for a while, and he looked at me and he said, I don't think we're interested. This isn't our this isn't what we do.
Oh,
We
okay.
open coffee shops. We don't open bakeries, right?
Okay.
And he was concerned that the coffee would take a back seat, right? And wanted to, actually
Yeah.
be in a bakery that served coffee, right?
Right.
So they turned me down. And I went
That's
home and I'm like, what the heck?
they're like, "No, we're good."
No, wait a minute here, right? I thought I had an in with the owner, right?
Right.
And I called him back the next day and I said, I think you're making a mistake. I said, I'm willing to showcase your product.
Uh-huh.
Our values align with your values, and we, one of those is quality, right?
Mm,
So we're going to treat your product right,
right.
right? We're doing made from scratch. We're going to do the coffee right too. It's not a secondary thing or
Right.
whatever. And so they decided to give me a shot, and we've been together ever since.
I
So
love that. That's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. Good on you for reaching back out. I think that's one of the most crucial parts in being a business owner is knowing when not to accept no as an answer. Cause and just maybe just providing that little push, like, hey, let's let me, no. Like like let's partner
Like,
because
you're not handling
I
me right.
I want your product in my shop.
Yes.
That's so
This
cool.
will benefit both of us.
Yeah, and
So
I feel like now you've always elevated that strongly. Like
mhm.
one's not better than the other. They both partner with each other really well.
We want to make sure everything that's in our shop meets those quality standards,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's our coffee, whether it's baked goods, sandwiches, if it's on our retail shelf,
Mhm.
right? We sell a few things from local vendors, and we've had lots of people come in. Like to sell my stuff here. And I'm like,
Mm,
well, let's look at it. And like,
right.
sorry, it's not
Yeah.
something we want to,
Promote or
promote or put out to our
showcase. Yeah.
customers, right? Because it doesn't meet those quality standards.
Yeah.
So, whatever we do, we want to do with high quality.
Yeah. That makes sense. So I'm just curious, like, how does doing business with them work? Like, do you pay like a monthly fee and they ship products out to you or
No, it's well, they had a program to get coffee shops open.
okay.
So they had a package deal that came with equipment and so many days of training and
Oh,
things like
okay.
that I did in the beginning. But there's no ongoing contract. There's no requirement. It's not even, I'm not even required to be just Crimson Cup, right?
Okay.
I can bring in other products if I want. Um, but then you just become a wholesale customer,
Yeah.
right? So you buy their beans, and they have other products, some of their syrups and things that they offer a lot of things,
Okay.
cups and whatever at a wholesale price because they get the volume discount of
Mm,
buying for all of their coffee shops.
okay.
So just kind of piggyback off that
Okay.
volume discount. And then they offer trainings and things like that if you're interested, but there's
Okay.
no requirement to no ongoing. It's not a franchise or anything like that.
I'm sure that makes things easier
Oh yeah.
in the end.
Yeah, as a business owner, I wouldn't want to lock yourself into exclusivity.
Like a 5-year contract
Yeah.
and then you hit certain demands and protocols that you got to
Yeah.
represent from their brand of piece. But no, yeah, I can just sitting here thinking about that. It's like, yeah, that's probably way easier. And I'm sure it's easier on their end too to just be like, yeah, if it works, we'll just keep working with you.
Mhm.
So, as far as them telling you no and then you calling them back, do they now serve their coffees and are they more open to serving their coffees in other coffee shops, kind of like what you're doing? Or are you more just like the exclusivity of what they did for you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any other like bakeries that
That
carry their
offer.
coffee,
Okay.
but they've opened, worked with coffee shop owners nationwide,
Okay.
right? They're not all Crimson Cup,
Okay.
owned by the corporate like in the ones that are in Columbus. Um, but there are lots of coffee shops that serve Crimson Cup, work with them
Okay.
nationwide. So I don't know. It could be. They certainly didn't like put it on their website as a new model.
Right. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
um, but it worked out.
Good. Yeah. Great coffee. I like
Mhm.
it. Go get some. Um, so how long you been married?
Oh my
I'm gonna put you on
gosh,
the spot.
29 years.
29 years.
Yeah,
Congratulations. That's
thank you.
exciting.
Yeah.
How'd you meet?
Wow. I don't know if I should tell the story. Um, so I graduated from Ohio State, was living with, I had a roommate, and we were at apartment complex off of Sawmill Road.
Okay.
And we had one of the apartments that was facing the pool,
Okay.
right? So we assumed it was our duty to provide entertainment for the pool,
Okay.
right? So we were blasting the speakers out the window and music or whatever. And I was
Okay.
just walking around the pool and I walked by my future wife and never met her before. And she said, "Nice music," right? Because it annoyed her,
Okay.
right? And I've told this story, pardon my language, but I went back to my roommate and I said, "Who's that bitch?" Really? I'm like, what did I do, right? Um, and so then later, I don't know, we just kind of met and started talking again because he
Uh-huh.
brought it up or whatever, and then just kind of went from there. Of course, I blamed everything on my roommate, right?
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, he's the one that does. He puts. Yeah, I hate it.
Yep.
I hate it too, right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
But yeah, he's a horrible roommate, right? It's all him.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Until we got married, then she hears the real truth.
Uh-huh, right. Like, "Hey, honey, you remember that one time at the pool?" Like, "This is what I really said when I went back to the apartment."
Yeah.
"But we're married now. Love you,"
Yep.
you know? That's so fun. And together, you guys have how many kids?
2 boys.
2 boys.
Mhm.
And what do they do?
So my oldest, Joshua, he's married, had 2 kids. We just had our second grandbaby
Nice.
6 weeks ago. He married into the Price family who owns Price Farms Organics.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he helps manage that operation out
Okay.
there. And then my youngest son, Ryan, he graduated high state with a hospitality degree, and
Okay.
he's working for a company that runs the Marriott in Westerville.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
Very
so he's
cool.
doing some mid-level management
Cool.
there.
Good for that. Yeah, I knew you had kids, I just didn't know how many, so
Mhm.
that's fun. When, what do you do besides run a business? Do you have any hobbies, passions? Is it just like you're a brick and mortar guy now, this is just brick and mortar every day?
Yeah, I need a hobby.
I hear fly fishing's fun.
Is it? That'd be cool. Um, I I I don't. I mean, I've over the years, I've skied, I've golfed, and kind
Mhm.
of I wasn't really an athlete, but I, did stuff like that. Um, but no, I mean, read, but I'm really in my head a
Yeah,
lot, so I'm always trying to find something to stay busy.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
I can totally understand that. Totally. So you recently, well, I guess it's still recently, I think, you've lost some weight.
Mhm.
Talk to
Yeah,
me about that.
yeah. So I've struggled with my weight since I was 10,
Okay.
right, off and on throughout the years, and I'm a stress eater,
Okay.
right? And we just talked about the first 8 years of
Of running a
of running a
business
business,
and
right? And and I own a bakery,
yeah,
and so
that means unlimited ingredients to cook whatever you want to
exactly,
cook when you want to
yes.
cook it.
And you gotta taste things, quality control. And a couple pounds a month, couple pounds a month, and it just adds up over
Yeah.
years and years and years. And so finally got to the point where it was just starting to really affect my health. Had our first grandbaby, and it's like, oh, geez, I'd like to be around for this.
Yeah.
And so, um, yeah, went to the doctor, and he set me up with a weight management team. And
Okay.
um,
So was it mainly around just like portion control, more healthier foods
uh,
or
there's a component to it, but there's medicine involved,
okay.
right? So
All right. No, I'm only asking because I had a friend on here just this past time, Shannon, um, who did I want to make sure I get this right. Bariatric surgery.
mm,
Uh, Don't quote me on that, but it's where they cut you open, remove some of the intestines,
shrink your
shrink your
stomach
stomach,
like a
and yeah,
band or
yep,
something.
yeah. So she lost over 200 pounds. So like, and she was just like she's healthier now. Like she was even expressing like she was like, Sam, I would park my car and walk 5 minutes to my office, and I could like I was winded. It was really hard to breathe, and so
Mhm.
she looks phenomenal. So yeah, good for you, man. Good for you for making that choice
Yeah.
and getting healthier, and
And,
that's
and
exciting.
and once you get into better habits, right? Then
Yeah.
it gets easier and easier. And I have a very addictive personality, right? So when I set on something, right, so
Right.
I gotta see it through.
Yeah. And
So
how many year when did you start your health journey?
ooh, let's see, what year is this? 25, 20, so it'd been 20, 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
right in
right in the
between
middle
all
towards
those
the
years.
end of COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. Good for you. What's when it comes to, because I'm always curious. So like I've been doing in this, I'm trying not to make this a routine topic that I talk about on my podcast, but I've been doing carnivore.
Okay.
So are you familiar with carnivore?
Yeah, high
Okay.
protein and
High protein, lots of meat,
mhm.
eggs, a lot of fats and like your steaks and stuff. I'm 2 months in, and so I'm always curious to know, like, I mean, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but like, what does your typical eating day look like? And did you experience when you started eating healthier, did you experience like the quantities of foods that you would normally eat versus like what you would eat now? Because for me, it's like I eat that much and I'm full already. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, don't keep eating. Like if you're full, stop eating.
Yeah, so it was definitely quantity over
Hmm.
quality. I mean, my wife's an amazing cook, so it wasn't really quality unless I would stop off for junk or something on the way
Hmm.
home from work periodically, but it was quantity
Okay.
for me, and really the medicines helped me feel full. I'd never really felt full before.
Okay.
I would just eat, right, until it's
Okay.
gone.
Yeah.
Um, so then for the first time, you get a large pizza and you eat a couple slices and you feel full. It's like,
Right.
wait a minute, you know, okay,
Like I'm not used to this.
I'm
What is
not used to
happening
this
right
kind of
now?
thing. So just it just starts to, you know,
Yeah.
snowball from there. You just eat a little bit, and um, I guess kind of grew up in that generation, clean plate generation,
Y'all, I
and
know it, man.
finish everything and
Meatloaf nights were the
whatever.
worst for me growing up. Oh man.
So now I leaving a little on the plate, and just stopping when it's
Yeah.
instead of like, oh, I need to finish these last 16 bites.
Right. Which add up over
Oh yeah,
time. You do it if
absolutely.
you eat 3 meals a day, that
Yeah.
yeah, 36 extra bites a day, that adds up very quickly.
Mm,
Well, that's exciting. What's something, I mean, I know we talked about a little bit about the business and, even not rebranding, but kind of navigating like what the roots look like.
mm.
Is there anything in the future in the next 5 years that you're gonna try to like really push for to have the success you want to have? And on top of that, are you considering and opening up a second location, or are you gonna stay with Central where you are now in downtown?
Yeah. So I'll start with the last question first. No, I have no plans to open a
A
second
second.
shop. I've been approached several times um, to do it, and I've
Okay.
looked into it. I I don't think I could recreate what we have in Delaware
Okay.
somewhere else, right? I think it has to be unique to the community that you're in. Otherwise, it starts to become corporate,
Mm,
becomes chainish. It becomes okay. Well, we got to make sure we do this in both of them
mhm.
because we can't, be unique to this place and not do it here and that sort of thing. And it
Right.
just kind of gets to the point where you're not really there for that community. And I never really had the goal of like creating this huge empire of going nationwide or anything
Right.
like that,
Okay.
right? It was just something to pay the bills and be able to experience that Delaware community. So
Yeah.
no, I'm not planning unless the right opportunity came along.
It would have to make
It'd have to
sense.
make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. Providing that space of exclusivity, I also feel like creates more value and authenticity if
Mhm.
you're just centrally located in one area, downtown is your spot, like, and you love it there.
Mhm.
So I guess, yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I've never been a fan of the corporate mind or the corporate mentality just because I don't have good experience with corporate people. I just,
Well, I mean, you have to have some corporate things behind the scenes in a business, right? To
right.
run it right, with finances and things like that. But it doesn't have to be as rigid.
Yeah.
And when you start to multiply, then it becomes more rigid,
Mm,
just out of necessity, right? You
yeah.
can't have multiple rules and products
That's fair.
and
I understand
and
that.
you know things like that. So yeah, unless the right opportunity came along. So what are we gonna do? Right now I said we're trying to revisit what the bakery is gonna look like. It's gonna take some time to get that in place once we land on what it's gonna be. We just, I guess it's been a little over a year. We just picked up the Olivina olive oil and vinegar brand. I don't know if you remember them.
What is that? Talk to me about that.
So Olivina was a store on the South Block. They sold oils and vinegars, and then later in their career, they had a restaurant that went along with it.
Okay.
Um, and unfortunately, they COVID took them out.
Okay.
They struggled through COVID, and then eventually had to close out.
Oh, were they what's
Right
that?
at the very end, it's an
Okay.
Indian
Yeah,
restaurant
yeah.
there now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. Okay.
Mhm. So, and Chris and I actually, they had opened like a month after us, and there was a few of us that all kind of opened at the same time that we kind of leaned on each other. So Chris and
Right.
I, the owner of Olivina, we would have breakfast every 6 months or whatever, and just kind of share ideas and
Mm.
help each other out or whatever. I really didn't want that brand as a great product, right?
Yeah.
He
Oh, no,
decided,
I bought oils from
yeah,
them before.
yeah, and he just had a bad circumstance. And so I wanted to keep the product alive, and it met our values, right? Quality product. It's amazing. So we brought that brand on board,
Oh, okay.
and now we sell it out of Fresh Start, and we sell it, online, and it's actually at a store that we have a collaboration in Easton as well,
Oh, wow.
with a company called Mellow. They do um, gourmet confections and stuff,
Okay.
and it's another story of how I met her, the owner, Michelle of Mellow. So we ended up having a collaboration down there as well. But we're realizing now that it really, the brand doesn't really fit under Fresh Start, right? Because you don't think to go to a bakery to buy olive oil, right?
Right.
And so we are at the point right now trying to figure out, do we spin this off on its own again? How do we
Mm.
brand this? We want to keep the Olivina brand. It has a great following. It's a great product, but putting it under the Fresh Start label is probably not the best thing. So we're working on that too to figure
Interesting.
out where we're going to go
Okay.
with the oils and vinegars. Um, so there's a lot of opportunity with that
Yeah.
as well.
What so you know your brand better, than what I would know or what I would throw like in a store. What are products that you would like to see in your store to kind of like promote other brands, and like what have you thought of that, or it was just a question I thought off the top of my head, like what products would you,
You mean on a retail?
yeah, on the retail side.
Okay. Some of the ones that we've done over the years, there was a young lady who was a Ohio Wesleyan student who had a toffee business
Okay.
that she and her family had started. And so unfortunately, they just recently went out of business too. So we were selling that product. It was all, you know, natural and made small batch
Okay.
kind of things. Um, we've sold different chocolates and things like that along
Okay.
over the years,
Yeah.
different products. I think we carry some candles of some of a lady who does these individualized
Okay.
kind of candles, things like that. It's kind of pretty cool. Um, so just whenever we find
Mm.
something,
If it works, if you
if it
feel like it
works,
vibes well with
yeah.
what you guys do and represent. Would you ever kind of like how you do on the back end of the business, how artists are able to swap their products every 2 months? Is that something you would do up front for other businesses, or would that just kind of be too much hassle? Because they'd be moving a lot of product in and out, and
Yeah, I don't think that would be fair to them to say you only get 2 months worth of shelf or 3 months worth of shelf or whatever. Because you put a lot in to letting people know your products there, your
yeah,
marketing, your brand, trying to get recognition, and then by the time people even know you're there, you're gone.
yeah,
And what's different from that is those products go through our register, and we're either buying them and reselling
okay,
them, or they're on consignment. Depends what the arrangement is, but we have staff involved and things like that. Whereas, as you know, the art, because the artist we have up there right now
Mhm.
is pretty amazing. I don't know if you know him.
I know him a little bit.
Yeah.
His name is Sam Kilgore.
Yes. So, but as you know, we don't touch the art, right?
Right, which actually made it easier on my end too,
Yeah.
because I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll just QR code the crap out of these things and
Yeah. Yeah.
just see what happens." So,
So, we don't charge to use the space. We don't charge a
mhm.
commission on sales, but everything goes through the artist. So, we don't have to set up our register. We don't have to set up our whatever.
Oh, okay.
So if we did that with retail
Yeah,
stuff,
that would
it,
be a
it would
lot
be
of
a lot
work.
of work
A
to
lot of
for
work.
a couple of months.
That makes sense. Now, I did talk a little bit when I went in there to set my stuff up with Carissa.
Hmm.
She's very sweet, very kind. And I got her side of the story. At least I think I did. I'm pretty sure I asked her like how she started working there. But how did that collab meet? Because I think at one point she said it was kind of like on accident that I became in the position that because she's operating manager,
General manager, yeah.
general manager.
Hmm.
Okay. How did that all happen?
Yes. She's been amazing. She's been on board probably less than a month, and it's been
So she's very new.
very new.
Okay.
Yes. So she was moving to the Delaware area. So she and her husband lived in Denver.
Okay.
He was he had a job opportunity here, so they were coming. They moved to Sunbury, and she actually wanted to kind of step back as well. She was in retail management. She ran a couple of retail stores, and actually had started her own not for profit
Okay.
and ran that. And it's almost like my fresh start story, right? She wanted to kind of step back a little bit and was looking for something to connect with the community, right? How
Mhm.
do I do so coffee shop, whatever. So she actually applied to be a barista,
Okay.
right? And we get a lot of applications for barista, and I just look through them, but right now we're not really hiring. So I'm just like, oh, if I put it in file or maybe later or something.
Yeah.
So I'm reading her resume and I'm like, this is not a barista, this is a manager,
Yeah.
right? So I reached out to her and said, this might sound strange, but help me understand why you want to be a barista because
Yeah.
you're not, you're in management, right? So she told me her story and what she was
Okay.
looking for, whatever. And we started talking. I said, well, I don't have a barista position, but I could use a manager if you're interested. Let's talk. And we talked a little bit remotely, and we finally just decided, wait till I get to Ohio and let's meet.
Yeah.
And we met a couple of times, and she really bought into what we were doing at Fresh Start, and
That's
was
cool.
really excited about it. And it was still not that corporate, right,
Mm,
that she was getting away from, but she's bringing her skill set to us at Fresh Start, and it's been great.
that's awesome.
So
So what's her like role look like then? Is she there for like the day-to-day operations? That way you can kind of scale back a little bit and work on other things.
mhm.
Like, is that pretty much what she does there?
Yeah, so she's, eyes and ears on the ground to be there, 5, 6 days a week or whatever to
Okay.
be able to handle the day-to-day operations. But one of the things that we struggled with was implementation of ideas, right?
Mm,
We didn't have someone who their role was to execute, right? So we'd come up, my wife and I would, hey, we should be doing this, or this would be a cool idea, or
hmm.
whatever. And we would hand it off or try to hand it off to, maybe a lead barista or maybe a kitchen manager or someone thinking they're going to maybe run with it, but that's not their role. It probably wasn't fair to think that. And it didn't happen. And it's like, okay, unless we're on the ground every day trying to,
Right.
get this going, which is hard to do and run a business, right?
Yeah.
And so we have this laundry list of like things we want to do.
Right.
And so her role is to execute, right?
Okay.
She'll come in, we're revisiting, like I said, like the bakery and just revisiting. And as I'm telling her what we do, it's like triggering things in my mind going, why do we do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you say it out loud, right? And then you start
Oh,
to
it's a
think,
game changer
oh
when you
yeah,
say it out
oh
loud because it takes all of this and
yes,
it gets it out there in the open.
yes. Or when someone, is asking intelligent questions and put you on the spot, like, well, how did you get there? Or
Yeah.
why did you do that? And it's like, that's a good question. How did we
Right.
get, how did we get there? I don't know. It was a weird
That's
we went over
awesome.
here for a while.
Yep.
So it's really making me refocus, um, to allow to hand this stuff off and say, yeah, this is what we want to do and this is the direction we want to go.
I'm sure that takes from everything you just said, all the stress and pressure was like lifted when you were able to bring her on. Because if you trust her to be in the position she's in, she has the experience, makes conversations so much easier and more efficient when you can have somebody that you know you can trust and kind of like navigate with the culture of things and yeah. So I'm sure that'll work out
Yeah,
terrific.
we had two instances just this week because my wife and I were used to the firefighting, right? We get
Mm,
the when it gets to us, there's an issue, right?
right.
And my team's great. Tell you what, I have an amazing team, and they can troubleshoot, and they're empowered to do everything they can to make
Hmm.
the customer have that great experience that we want them to have and stuff like that. But when it gets to us, it's an issue.
Right.
So something came up the other day and came across toward to my wife, and she jumped on it, and then found out that Carissa had also taken care of it.
Okay.
And then the very next day, something came up to me, and I go to jump on it. And Chris is like, I took care of that. And so Lee and I, my wife Lee, we just had this conversation and said, we need to rethink what our role is, right? We need
Hmm.
to stay out of it. And it feels
And
good.
I'll say
It's an amazing
that's a
story.
good
So I
problem
went
to
in, so
have.
when I saw her next time, I said, thank you. You're amazing. And she's like, that's my job. And
Yeah.
it's just such a,
That's a refreshing thing when you hear someone say, "Well, it's my job,"
yeah,
and you're like, "Okay."
yeah, yeah. So we have to, we're kind of hands off anyway. I'm not I'm not a baker, and so I'm not in the kitchen and things like that.
Yeah,
So, but we had to know what was going on day to day and keep, like I said, firefights and
right,
things like that. And to have someone who's just jumps right on and takes care of it, it's like maybe this stuff doesn't need to for us to take care of, right?
right, yeah,
Maybe some awareness if we need to know,
right.
but so it's a
So do you feel like now that Carissa's in that position to help you guys grow and expand and kind of just like maintaining, it sounds like Fresh Start over the years has just become kind of like a well-oiled process as far as like running a brick and mortar, kind of like going in that gear of things. Would you agree with that? Or more
well,
so like
well, thank you that it looks like a well-oiled
I'm
process.
hey, I every bit
That's
like not hear what I'm
that's
saying,
what we
hear what I'm
try to
not
make. That's
saying.
what we try to make it look like.
Yeah.
All businesses we want to look like a
Yeah.
well-oiled process, but
When I step in there, I
yeah,
say this is a well-oiled facility right now, so
we've had our ups and downs, and the behind the scenes of any business is what's that story about the duck paddling under, it's calm
mhm.
on top, but
Yep.
underneath the feeder going.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's chaotic, but we don't want it. You don't want that to come across to your customers, right? It's not
Right.
their, it's not, you're dealing with a vendor, you're dealing with broken equipment, or you're dealing with whatever, that your customer doesn't need to
Right.
feel that. And
Right.
that's one of the things we stress when we hire people, especially the baristas, right? That the just the way you come across, people can feel it. I mean, I've gone
Oh,
into,
oh yeah.
ever go in a coffee shop and you feel like
Oh
like
yeah. I'm not
you're,
tipping you. I'm not tipping you if you're going to be a butt.
well, not even that, not even like overtly like a but yeah, I've been there too, but just you can just kind of feel like they don't want to be there,
Yeah.
or just they're upset about something, or just giving off this vibe that just you feel like you're interrupting, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can I get a coffee, or whatever. And we that's never want our
Yeah, I've
our
never
guests to
personally
feel like
experienced that. I tip at Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery.
that. And my team appreciates it.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think
Yeah.
that's so important too, because like you said, if customers like I've walked into areas before and it's like, I don't really want to buy a coffee from you right
Yeah.
now. Like I'm not I'll go down the street. Like, no thank you. So I think it's really cool that you implement that and that you guys are on top of that. Because I think again, that creates the experience that you want your customers to have from the
Mhm.
second they walk in. And I personally, I mean, I honestly can say I've never had one bad experience in the years you've been open and the times I've been in there. So
Well, I
good
appreciate that.
kudos to you, man, for
Yeah.
doing that.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
And we when we make our mistakes, but it's our customers, which I refer to a lot as our guests, right? Because
Mhm.
we're inviting them in to have that experience. Um, are amazing. And I've actually had people apologize to me because we messed up. Like, I'm sorry I had to tell you this, but this wasn't quite right. And I'm like, why are you apologizing?
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Right. Because thanks for telling me, number
Y
one, because we can't fix it if we don't know it.
right.
And number two, thanks for not putting it all over social media without
R
an opportunity
right.
to at least
Which we live in
address it.
that era day and age right
Yeah.
now where there's such a lack of confrontation, and that can be scary for a business owner. Like, I've seen some businesses get tanked because one person leaves a bad review, and all you had to do is ask the waiter, ask the manager, and could have been resolved in less than 30 seconds in most cases.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing that gives me the most anxiety is when I see Fresh Start pop up on a social media page and I'm just waiting for someone to like
It's
maybe had a bad experience because we're not perfect, right?
right.
And fortunately, it hasn't happened, and hopefully people aren't listening to this and like, well, I'm gonna,
Right.
now
We want good stuff,
maybe we edit
okay?
this part out, Sam, because
We're
yeah, because someone's gonna like take the challenge, right? But it's sad though, because I've seen businesses, good businesses and good people get trashed because they made a mistake,
Yeah.
right? And it's hard to come back from that,
Yeah.
right? Your reputation.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're not good at damage control either. I feel
Mhm.
like that's I don't own a brick and mortar, but I have had to do damage control before, and it's the most gut-wrenching thing because it's one of those things where you can't really practice it until you're in it. And that was my situation. So it's like, oh man, what do I have to do? Like,
Yeah.
what do I have? I'm here to serve you, here to provide, an experience for you.
Mhm.
Like, what do I need to do
To make it
and
right.
to make it right? Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And so, yeah,
And the first instinct is defend yourself,
right.
right? Which is the worst thing
Yep.
because no one's listening
Right.
to. I'm gonna sit down and have a logical
Oh,
conversation,
yeah.
especially online, right?
Yeah.
It's all emotion. It's all, you
Just
know,
da, da, da,
yeah,
da, da.
anger or whatever it is. Um, so then you see people who don't know how to do damage control, right? And then
Yeah.
they make it worse.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, geez, why did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
which I'm sure I've had my fair share of moments like
oh,
that.
I'm sure I've not handled things
Everybody,
well.
everybody has. We're humans.
Absolutely.
Nobody's perfect.
No,
Nobody got time to be perfect. Perfect is boring, in my opinion.
I wouldn't know
Like,
what perfect looked like.
no, thank
So,
you. Do you feel like in running a brick and mortar, do you find more that feeling of success knowing you had your highs and lows? Like, do you take the lows and see where your highs are at or now and like just see the benefit of like navigating? Like even when COVID hit, like you
mhm.
can look back and see all the things you were navigating, all the things you were doing to where you're at now. Do you find that success is a greater feeling when you experience hardships rather than just like instant, never had any problems?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if when you earn something and you struggle, you appreciate it more,
Yeah.
right? I didn't grow up with money. I paid my way through college and I saw people. I had a roommate who came from money and I saw how he blew off class and would drop classes and just retake them and what
Mhm.
and here I am trying to, you know, work my way through school and pay the school bill, right?
Right. Yeah.
And not have to leverage my life with student loans and stuff like that. And you see, and you appreciate it more, right?
Mhm.
You go to class because you wrote the check, right?
Right.
So yeah, when things are difficult, I think you learn so much. And I was, I guess I've always had that. Like even in school, I was one like you take a quiz, right? And you get, 95%.
Right.
I'm looking at the one I missed,
Mhm.
right? What the heck? Why didn't I get this one right?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of the 90, because you learn from that. You
Right.
learn more from, I guess it's such cliche, but you do learn more from your mistakes.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
and
agree
if it
with
was
that.
easy, I mean, if it was easy, everybody do it. But if it came easy, then I don't think I would appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for it to be hard, but
No. We
I'm
don't
just
want we
saying.
don't want hardship 24/7.
No, no. But it's natural, and I think, the entrepreneur mindset is if you're always changing, always looking for something, you're gonna run into something,
Yeah.
right? If you're doing something, you're gonna run up against
Mhm.
resistance or something hard.
Yeah.
If you're not active, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna run into things.
Right.
But
Yeah,
like you
that
said,
makes
that's
sense.
boring.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody likes boring. Give us the crazy and chaotic. Let us learn and grow.
Maybe it's the back to the entrepreneur thing, but stress is a drug, right? It's like a that whole
Yeah, because I mean, it's a
and
constant
problems
thinking
and
and
trying to can I
what's the
what's the
solution?
solution and how do
Yep.
I get through this and am I capable of getting through this and a lot of times you struggle with if you've ever heard of imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you struggle with imposter syndrome and like, am I really good enough to do this? Do I really deserve to be here?
Mhm.
But then you look back and you see and you hear compliments like yours. And I was talking to a customer last night, just praising our staff. And those are the compliments that I love the most when they
Mhm.
talk about my team,
Yeah.
right? The people, because we're a commodity,
Right.
right? You can get coffee and pastries in multiple places,
Right.
right? I think we're the best. I hope we're the best, but
Unbiased
unbiased,
opinion,
right?
you know?
But I think what sets us apart is um, uh, we always say it's an interaction, not a transaction,
Yeah.
right? So when they talk about our people, I love that.
Yeah.
So
It creates the culture.
yeah,
Culture creates foundation. Foundation creates opportunity and
yeah.
experiences.
So when you hear things like that, you're like, oh, we're doing something right, right?
Yeah.
And to kind of talk again about bringing Chris on board, I'm talking about these things and it's kind of embarrassing because we didn't these are things we wanted to do and didn't get done, right? And
Okay.
so we got this wish list and like, well, we've been talking about this for 5 years. And then my mind's like, well, why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
um so it's kind of almost went negative and to her, she was amazing. She kind of said, hey, stop, you've done something right.
Mhm.
You've been here 9 years and you're doing,
Right.
I'm like,
You're
hey,
doing something right, you
okay,
know?
thank you, right? Thank you. So I have this new phrase, right, that I started from that point forward. I said, "Imagine how good we can get if I got my shit together."
Right. Oh, yeah.
So, so now this year, that's my goal, right? Get your shit
Get your
together.
shit together. I like
Um,
it.
so yeah, I mean, when you think of those highs and lows, um, it's good.
It kinda sets the tone a little
It
bit
sets a
to
tone.
keep
I'm
going
not
and
good at celebrating success. I'm
okay.
kind of always like, okay,
Yay,
thanks,
high five.
thanks,
Right.
or it's I don't take compliments well.
Okay.
I love compliments from if it's my business,
R
my staff, my team,
right.
whatever, I will love it.
Yeah.
But when it focuses on me, like you're doing, well, thanks, but you know, they did
Imma
that.
give
That was
yeah.
them, or I have a great team, and I do. But I mean, I guess my personality is always looking forward, and I have to be better and force myself. And I know this. This is something I do to sit back and and celebrate when something good happens
Right.
and understand, hey, we got a good thing going here.
Yeah.
And again, perfect? No, but
Will this be your 10th year in business?
it'd be the would be well, we opened in 2016,
17.
so it'd be nine.
2026 will be your 10th year.
Yeah, so we'd be going into our 10th year in July. So
Okay.
9 years in July.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, you should do something really big for your 10th year.
probably should.
You should you should you should take time out of your life to do something really big for the 10-year anniversary, because I think that's a success in itself. Like we said in the beginning, like most businesses go out and that 3-year mark, most are gone by the 5th year mark.
Oh yeah.
And to be still in a brick and mortar after 10 years, I think that's something worth celebrating. That's something worth. I don't know if you're a bourbon drinker, go buy a fancy bottle, have yourself a little shot on the rocks with bourbon, like, have a party at Fresh Start. I feel like the community loves things like that, to like celebrate. Hey, we've been here for 10 years. Come on out, get a,
Mhm.
free cup of coffee with a pastry or vice versa or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, you should do something big for your 10-year anniversary.
Well, probably have to start planning it now.
This is true. This is
So,
true. I mean, you got to think though. I mean, it's such an accomplishment,
mm.
for 10 years. Those are 10 long years. But hopefully they won't feel that much longer. And
No, it's all good.
it sounds like you just got a lot of moving working pieces that are like kind of like just bringing things together for to add another 10 years and then another 10 years. And so how long are you wanting to keep Fresh Start for as long as you can and as long as it makes sense type of deal?
Yeah, that's a great question because another thing that has started to come on my radar is what's the exit strategy,
Mm,
right? Because it's not a family business. It's not like my kids want to take it over
okay.
or whatever. And you know, hopefully I got another good 10 years in me or whatever. I'm not saying next year, but it takes time to
Yeah.
position a business right. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Um, so to find someone that maybe wants to take it over or something like that, and maybe bring them on board or whatever, something like that. It takes time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. What is the exit strategy? You kind of go in to this not thinking how it's going to end,
Right.
right?
Yeah, because I mean you had no idea what the first 9 years would look like.
Yeah,
It's just like, hey, we're gonna go after this thing and see what happens and
yeah,
have fun doing it.
yeah. We're going to ride this as long as we can. And Delaware's growing so
Hmm.
much,
Yeah.
and so
Which
much.
I'm hit or miss. I'm hit or miss.
There's pros and cons.
There is. I always laugh with people when I joke with them about that, because I remember moving down here like 15, 16 years ago, and it was a ghost town. Like no traffic, you could get to anywhere you needed to go in 2 minutes. Now it takes at least 15 to 20,
Mhm.
which again, pros, because I don't think without the growth, downtown wouldn't be what it
Yeah,
is today. Like it just wouldn't. You need the people, you need the population. And but yeah, pros and cons.
yeah.
More
There's a lot of opportunity
yeah.
coming, and downtown continues to grow. Um, second floors starting to be remodeled,
Yep,
and
yeah.
third floors, and the building next to us. I don't know if you saw that they're redoing
Is
that
that
building next to
that's
us.
not, is that where Genty's new place is going? Because
No,
he's been remodeling
no. His
something.
new place is right next to open, right next door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
He's been a fun one to watch. Watching him kind of like build and do all of his things,
yeah,
and
get him on this
yeah,
show.
I
I
want
hear
to.
some interesting stories.
He's a trip.
He is amazing. He loves Delaware.
Yeah.
There's there's most of the business owners downtown, or at least the ones that I've had a chance to interact with, just love Delaware,
Mhm.
right? And then they wouldn't do it if
Right.
they didn't,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
he is definitely one of the rare of the rare that just
Just keeps
he does
going
so
and
much
going and
stuff behind
going.
the scenes that people don't realize. And yeah, get him on here and
I should. I'll have to text him like,
dragging
"Hey,
stories out of
get
it.
your butt over here and bring a really, really expensive bottle of bourbon, like the most expensive one you got."
Yeah, let's do a tasting, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, in the 9 years of business, what are a few things that you can look back on now and kinda see the flip side of where you're at now? Like, what you've learned and what you've kinda, like, experienced in the whole revelational aspect of owning a brick and mortar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Or something or things you would tell your younger self when you started to where you're at now in running a brick and mortar.
Um, it will take twice as much money and twice as much time as you think it will.
All right.
Uh, no matter what you want to do, it's not fast and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think the thing, probably what I've learned the most is it's about the people, right? Whether
Mhm.
that's internally your team or externally the community, it's a people business,
Mm.
right? It's not a coffee business, it's not a pastry business, it's a people business. And dealing with people is probably one of the hardest things to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what I would say is you got to get good at. You
Yeah.
got to get good at dealing with people. And yeah, it's probably what I've learned along the way, especially in my situation, because I'm not the expert, right?
Mhm.
I have to hire the expert.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
a lot of, and when I network with coffee shop owners or bakery owners, they're the expert, right? They used to be a barista and they opened their own shop, or they
Mhm.
used to be or they baked at home or went to culinary school and they opened their own shop,
Mhm.
and they have that skill set on site all the time, right?
Right.
And I don't. So
Okay.
I have to hire the expert.
Yeah.
And so that is a lot trickier
Yeah.
to because you if that expertise walks out the door because you're a jerk
Yeah.
or whatever, you don't treat them right or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that would be challenging. I never really thought of that because you're being in the operation of the owner, but having to rely on other experts in their field to increase value
Mhm.
for your business. I'm sure that could be stressful at times,
Yeah,
just a little bit.
yeah, it can be. I mean, if you see me in the kitchen, we're in bad shape, right? So I can follow a recipe. I can, I've been in the kitchen and I've been behind the bar. In the
Yeah.
early days, you do a lot of it. My wife spent a lot of time in the kitchen,
Okay.
especially in the early days. Um, that's not the type of owner we want to be, right?
Right.
But so if the talent would walk out for some reason, we'll survive, but it won't be easy and it won't be fun.
Yeah.
So
Now, in preparation to like your meals and beverages, did you taste test everything before you put them in? And was there how long? I mean, I would imagine it might have taken a bit to have everything baked and prepped, and then you're going through different samples and trying things and probably making notes. And yeah, thanks for inviting me. I
yeah,
really appreciate that. Would have loved to be a part of that one.
yeah, we did. We'll come back to the early days of the bakery. I can tell you a fun story there.
Okay.
Um, but as we put things on the menu, yeah, we're going to try them, we're going to taste them, and things like that. Especially when we added sandwiches.
Okay.
Or anytime you do something new, right? You want to taste test and figure it out. And it's kind of neat to watch. So take our biscuit, right?
Hmm.
I think we have amazing made from scratch biscuit. Go get biscuits and gravy. Get your egg sandwich on a biscuit. But at the time we had 5 people who all brought their ideas in, their own recipes, right?
Oh, okay.
And shared it.
Okay.
And then like, well, I like the texture of this one, but this taste I like this taste and
Okay.
and they just kept like, okay, let's put these 3 together. Okay, let's put this, and just watching them, just amazing talent. Like I said before, come up with this ultimate recipe, right?
Hmm.
So that's how we get there, right?
Okay.
Just taste
That's
this,
fun.
taste that, taste a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
That's fun.
Um,
And you do that with all pretty much all the things you guys bake between
we
sweets and food, like
yeah,
sandwiches and
anything
stuff
we
like
bring
that.
on or we're trying, um, we taste test
That's cool.
and sample and figure out what we're going to do with it. Now, in the early days, so a fun story. Back to the Buellers, right?
Mm,
So I'd reached out to the lady at Bueller's who had lost her job, right? Because they're losing their job, and I'm opening a bakery.
right.
Where do you go for staff? People are they're losing their jobs. So this lady said, "Yeah, I'll come on and be your baker." So I'm sign the lease, get the financing. We're reconstructing, going through remodeling the building and all this stuff. And I kept saying, we got to talk about recipes, right?
Yeah.
We need to talk about recipes. And all of a sudden, she just got like kind of ghosted me, right? I'm like, what the heck's going on? So it came back and she's like, this is what I found out. She's like, we don't bake from scratch. I don't have any
Oh,
recipes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Right. And I'm 4 months, 3 months, 4 months into this project
yeah.
that we're set to open in a couple of months, and I'm in a meeting talking to the team that was working on our marketing and our branding and our
Hmm.
logo and stuff. And I said, "This is going to sound stupid, but does anybody know a baker?" And they're like, "You don't have a baker?"
That's
And
wild.
I'm like, "Well, not anymore."
I had one
I
lined up,
had one lined
but
up, but and I don't believe in coincidence, but there was someone in that meeting who knew a couple. Um, that had owned a bakery in New Zealand
yeah,
that were moving back to Delaware or
yeah,
just moved back to Delaware. I think you know them,
yep,
Ron and
yep.
Lynette Lawson, and introduced us to them. And I tell you what, we would not have survived without them coming on board when they did.
That's
Right? They
cool.
gave us 6 months of their life and their expertise to help us get off the ground. So Lynette brought a lot of the initial menu. Now we've tweaked it since then.
Yeah,
I mean, it's changed over the years as new bakers come on and
right.
added their touch to it and things
Which
like
I think
that.
adds growth,
Oh yeah,
right? It adds
yeah,
that value and that integrity piece to go. We're developing. We're always going to constantly be developing
yeah,
things, and
yeah. But Lynette came in and helped us with that initial menu and
okay.
those initial recipes and stuff. And my wife, she'd actually had done catering out of the home for a while as
Oh,
a
okay.
stay-at-home mom. She was doing some catering, and that's a whole nother story how that happened. Get her in here and
See, you're full of stories. You're yeah.
get her in here and talk about that one. Um, so she knew her way around a kitchen. Wasn't She could bake, but not a baker. Back to she liked to cook more than
Yeah.
bake. So between the with her understanding the kitchen and Lynette coming on board in those early days, that's kind of got us off the ground. And then we
Okay.
brought in another when Lynette left. We brought in another young lady who was with us for probably about 2 years or so. That
Okay.
really kind of helped get that consistency and foundation,
Yeah. Okay.
keep it going or whatever. But yeah, I said I had a logo before I had a baker,
Mhm. That's funny.
which is not the way you want to
That's
open a
funny.
business, right? You want to have
Yeah, typically baker would be like your top priority,
yeah.
but that's funny.
It was scary.
Yeah, I'm sure looking back now, it's a ha ha ha, but
Yeah.
then it's like,
So,
"Oh my god."
but again, I don't believe in coincidence. It worked out exactly the way it was supposed to,
Yeah,
and so
that's cool. That's
that's
very exciting. I love that. Kind of makes me think, how, when you're in business for X amount of years, again, just coming back to that time of your life, even if it's like once a week or once a year, and you think about all the things you had to do to overcome to get to where you are today.
mhm.
I will ask, if you had to go through all of that again, would you, to be where you're at today?
I well, I say this not about the business. I say this about my personal life as
Right.
well. I
Yeah.
always say I wouldn't change a thing because I enjoy who I am and where I'm at,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I'd do it again.
Yeah.
um,
Spoken from every true entrepreneur.
yeah, yeah, and I don't mean like I regret opening a
It's
business.
not a
I
negative
No,
thing. Yeah,
no.
I totally hear what you're saying.
To go through it once was enough,
Yeah.
but like we talked about before, the hardships and everything, I wouldn't change any of it
Yeah, because
because
it helped develop who you are and
it's
what the
where we're
business is
at. Yeah,
today.
you think of, you always see these, movies about time travel and go back and change it, whatever. It's
Mhm.
like, wow, I don't think I would want to mess with it
Yeah.
because it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it could
you
be.
know,
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I mean, I'm I'm happy.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
And
That's good.
no matter what circumstance, I'd be happy
You'd
because
be
it could be a
happy.
lot worse.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
Do you guys offer any programs? You involved in any programs?
what do you mean programs?
Like I mean, because we have the OWU college, or do you do like is there anything like community driven that Fresh Start's a part of, or that they or is it just kind of like its own entity at this point?
As far as, I guess I don't understand the question.
Um Well, okay, so like I was in there a few weeks ago, and I know like a lot of coffee shops are like popular for the college kids and stuff. Are you in partnership with the college to get like more traction into your business, or is there like a community of the businesses that network together,
Yeah. So, yes. So there's a couple organizations. One is the chamber. We're a member of the chamber,
Okay.
but the Main Street Delaware is the downtown business um, organization that does all the events, or
Right.
most of the events, not all of them. So like your First Fridays, your farmers market, your Christmas and holiday celebration stuff like that. The
Mhm.
concerts on Winter Street. They head up all that.
Okay.
And they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes to help collaborate businesses and
Okay.
communicate and stuff like that. So that's, it's probably the main organization that most businesses downtown work
Okay.
well together. But there's also a lot of collaboration amongst the different business owners, right? We'll do things together. I mean,
Mhm.
I think recently, like the retail people put together a bingo card together, right? And said,
Oh yeah.
hey,
Yeah, I
come and
saw
fill out this
that.
bingo card or whatever, and you can win a prize or whatever. Um, Leanne from Goat Local has put together the third Friday. I think it is. Boy, I hope I got that right. It's like Sip and Socialize. It's kind of it's more of an adult based,
Okay.
you know,
And that is that
event.
partnership with like the Dora,
Yeah, so you can come
where you can
down
like
and you
walk
can
around outside
walk
and
around,
yeah.
grab a drink, come shop,
Okay.
kind of thing. First Fridays more chaotic, and they're trying to find a little something that's more adultish.
Yeah.
Um, and so then she put that together on her own. So there's a lot of
Okay.
collaboration. The college is something that I've been had struggled for a while to kind of connect to. It's kind of weird, Delaware. We have this college it's 2 blocks away,
Mhm.
but it's not a college town, right? It's not an
Yeah.
Athens. It's not a what
Yeah.
And I know it's a smaller school, but it's really not a college town. There's almost like a separation there. So we've done a lot to kind of reach out to the
Okay.
students. We've done brand ambassadors with the students
Okay.
and things like that. We just worked with the new administration at Ohio Wesleyan to be able to put together a packet for all incoming students.
Hmm.
So this was something that we had tried to do individually as Fresh Start and ran into some hiccups
Mhm.
as we did this. Worked out the bugs now with the new leadership there, and then thought, well, I'm not the only business that would want to do this, right? And
Right.
they don't want 20 people all trying to do it individually.
Right.
So went to Main Street and said, would you head this up and collaborate and put together a giant package,
Okay.
right, for all incoming students. So, and it kind of got off the ground last minute last year.
Okay.
So only a few people really had the time
To build
to
their
build
info
their stuff
and
or whatever.
okay.
So we're hoping this upcoming fall, this summer, we'll put something together and reach out to those students.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and we do like a student discount and stuff like that. But
Okay.
we're on their meal plan now,
Oh,
so they
okay.
can use their meal plan money at Fresh Start. We're one of a few places that can do that. And that took several years of nagging people to get that opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. That's so cool. That's cool.
So yeah, the schools is something that we do. We partner with. There's so many opportunities to partner or to sponsor. I mean, we get asked to sponsor stuff all the time or donate. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We can't do it all, but there's
There's always
always
something.
something that you
Always
can
something.
connect yourself to. We have a community bulletin board if people will have events and stuff. One of the things that we do every year is what we call hashtag Experience Delaware, Ohio,
Mhm.
and it's an event that it's going to be its sixth or seventh year this year, where we invite bloggers and influencers to come spend the day in Delaware. And we
Mm.
host them, right? So they meet at Fresh Start, kick it off there, and then participating businesses, they'll go
Oh,
around and
that's
kind of give
cool.
them a discount or a trinket or whatever so that they can share
Right.
their
Their
experience in
experience.
Delaware, right? I love
That's a
that's an
cool
amazing
creative
event.
idea. Yeah. That's creative.
Well, it was another business owner that not kind of, kicked it off. He had done it individually for his business and
Mhm.
invited us to participate. And I said, wow, this is really cool. I want to do this.
Mhm.
And so I started putting it together and he was putting another one together. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You want to do this? I want back to the like other people want to do this too, right?
Right, yeah.
And why have 20 businesses do it
Separately
separately
when you could
individually?
do it. Yeah.
So I we took that on and he has since dropped out and so I take that on every year to coordinate and collaborate that. But that's a cool event that I really love.
That's
Probably one of my
fun.
favorite days of the year because to see people, especially new people that hadn't been to Delaware before, like
Mm.
find Delaware.
Yeah.
When people find Delaware, it is kind of cool. You can see it on their face,
Yeah.
right? Like, wow, I never knew, you know, great food, great retail,
Yeah.
great coffee, great whatever, and just that whole feel, that
The
small
whole vibe.
town,
Yep.
that um, Hallmark movie feel kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I feel like some of the similarity with downtown Delaware, I hope I say this right, uptown Westerville
Hmm.
is kind of building and get like I feel like the downtown Delaware and uptown Westerville are in that same niche of like as far as like what the restoration looks like and the type of stores they bring in
Hmm.
and stuff. So I'm always curious. Like I haven't. It's been a few years since I've been to uptown Westerville, but I have a friend who runs a shop up there, and but she's kind of like she was heavily involved and I think she still is as far as like the programs they do and like the parties they have on the first Friday things and
Hmm.
like all that. And so I do love the community that comes together for what feels like a very small community, but it's actually quite massive.
Hmm.
Like first Fridays, those are massive events that are held in downtown
Yeah,
Delaware,
yeah.
and it is cool for
Especially the holiday
y-
tree light.
yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard this story, but Joe and Linda Diamond, they used to own the building I'm in.
Okay.
So they were our landlords and amazing people. If you don't know them, really helped us a lot along the way and supported us. But he told me a story that the first tree lighting, he has a picture. There's like three or four people there,
No,
right? And it's like
there's like 3,000
now
people
there's
there.
they can't even walk downtown, and
Yeah.
so it's people like that that really invested in Delaware. That generation ahead of us that
Mm,
really invested in Delaware. That's what I hope my legacy is that you know I continue to invest in Delaware,
that's good. Yeah.
right? Because of and they really went out on a limb, right? When things were boarded up and
Yeah.
buildings were falling down and really invested a lot into something that wasn't a given.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier to come behind people like that
Yeah.
and keep it going. But you think about, you're talking about it's a big event,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But it
Yeah.
started small. It has to start somewhere.
People who plow the way before, kind of like I feel like there's always people, the diamonds like you mentioned,
Mm.
who were a part of that plowing, even though they might not realized or did realize what they were doing, they just had a passion. They wanted to execute it well and they delivered that kind of like forefront.
Mhm.
to for others to experience that success and just that community piece, like just the community of downtown Delaware. Um,
Yeah, and you get to know, especially a coffee shop, you get to know people.
yeah,
You get to know their kids. You get to see their kids grow up. Coming on 9 years, I've seen kids grow up. I've seen kids we met as teenagers that are married and having
yeah,
kids, and our staff that's turned over the years, and we followed most of them and what they're doing, and
yeah,
they're all over the world and doing great, amazing things. And
yeah,
because most of them, that's not their career, right? We talked, a lot of them were college students, so they
right.
went on to their quote unquote real job. Not that barista's not a real job,
Mm,
but you know what I mean.
yeah, I got
Um,
you. I got you.
and so just, yeah, to have those individual connections, um, what doesn't happen in a massive town. But
Yeah,
well, it probably happens in small pockets.
right.
Like even New York probably has pockets of,
Yeah.
close knit, whatever. But as a whole, and being able to make those relationships and have those connections, and you know, you're out in the community and people see you and they recognize you, and
Mm,
oh, I know you, you're home fresh, whatever.
yeah.
Which is scary sometimes because I gotta remember, how do I know you? I was like, oh,
That's when you go, "Oh, yeah, how are
and
you?"
what's
You
your
know?
name? And I'm sorry if I. Oh yeah, I remember. Um, so I gotta get better at that. But that's what makes it really cool. And you ask about programs and stuff we're doing right now. We're promoting Gabriel and the Guardians. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar
yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
Jason Moody, yeah.
Jason Moody is amazing, local resident artist who's doing things that are about to hit the global
Oh,
scale.
yeah.
It's going to be the point where he's going to be recognized walking down the street.
Oh, I'm sure.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, look up Gabriel and the Guardians. It's
From Angel
Angel
Studios. It's
Studios.
anime.
Yeah, so they're actually going to do a premiere at the Strand.
I think you told me this.
Yeah, and we have information at, I don't want to put out a date that I might be wrong, but we have information at Fresh Start
Okay,
that you can hit a QR code and it's up on the board as well. You can get
okay.
tickets and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, those relationships. He was a customer,
Yeah,
right?
he was a regular guy
He was a
pursuing
regular
something
guy,
and
came in, and then one day he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm working on this thing and I need to find investors. Will you help me with my pitch?" Right? Because he
mhm,
knew I had a business background.
okay.
And so I helped him put together, here's the stuff you need to put in, here's what people
Oh,
are
that's
looking
cool, I
for.
didn't know that.
He practiced a few pitches to me and things like that. And we just kind of made that connection, and to see, that's another story you got to get. I'm going to get your whole
I know,
list of
man.
people,
I
right?
got
Get Jason
everybody
Moody
who
in
comes on,
here.
they're like, "Oh, you need to bring so and so. Oh, you need to get so and so on here." It's like, "Hey, give them my information, have them reach out." So,
Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to tell you all these great stories about other people if I hadn't opened Fresh Start. I wouldn't.
ah, yeah.
I'd still be sitting in an office somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the best takeaway of all of this, is to be able to say, "Oh, did you hear about this? You got to talk to this person because that's amazing."
Yeah.
And just
Man,
those.
in that rewarding. I'm really glad you said that because I feel like I think at times I need to remember that. Like I wouldn't have met all the people I've met because I think I've been in business for 7 or 8 years, I think. Something like that.
And how long does it feel?
45. I feel
You
55.
want to switch seats?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But that is such a rewarding piece to look back on to be like, man, I wouldn't have met all the amazing people, had all these amazing connections, these amazing interactions if
Mhm.
I didn't take the step or the risk to start this thing.
Yeah,
And like that in itself could be a huge rewarding factor to remember and look back onto. I think I'm gonna have to be a little bit more intentional about that. Because life happens, you can get so distracted in life and business and family and work and like yeah, it could be a lot. But that's a really rich piece.
yeah, and whether it's artists in the back room, whether it's regulars that come in, people we met like Jason, like you. I
Mhm.
mean, I wouldn't have known you if it wasn't for Fresh Start. You
Yeah.
come in. Um, all the stuff is just that's what
The history of
the
living.
history. Yeah,
The history of
yeah.
living.
I was going somewhere with that. And I forgot where I was going.
Yeah.
Um, but just Delaware has so much to offer. And there's so many stories out there that I think
Are worth
what you're
listening.
doing
Yeah, are
is
worth
perfect.
hearing.
And thank you for allowing me to tell my story.
Yeah, man.
But there's so much in Delaware, and kind of get back to the where we went off that tangent. When people find Delaware,
Mm,
they love it, right? And
yeah.
so we see that all the time. It's like I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
So, and it's an easy sell.
Yeah.
And one kind of a sad thing is I see that a lot of people that live in Delaware avoid it downtown, right?
Mhm.
Because there's no parking and da da, and we could talk all about whether that's true or
We're
not.
we're just gonna stay
We're
clear
gonna
of the
stay out
if
of
there
that
is parking in downtown
topic.
Delaware.
Uh,
We're that's the only topic we're not gonna
We're gonna
talk
edit that out.
about.
But it's kind of a shame that the people that are closest to it, many of them don't experience it, and the people that come from other places get to see what we have.
Yeah.
And to bring it back full circle, I was one of those people.
Yeah.
I lived here and I did nothing in Delaware.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was the same way for a few years where like I just didn't do anything with it downtown. But now I'm more intentional about going to experience those places. Like even if it takes an hour a week, like just go down there. You don't have to spend, $100, but like get a cup of coffee, go
mm,
walk the streets, go visit all the antique stores and see what, these businesses have new vendors up and showcasing their works and products. And, I feel like every store in downtown Delaware is uniquely their own and what they have and what they're showcasing or what they're selling. And I think I've always appreciated that because it's really easy to like every coffee shop could sell bars of soap, like as a whatever. But like only I think I've only been to maybe two businesses that actually offer homemade soaps, but they're all from different
mhm,
styles, different themes, different
yeah.
whatever. And just having that creativity and having that flow of just you have so many things to choose from. And
Mhm.
I think that would be my biggest thing that I hope people get to experience is just knowing you really do have a lot of things to choose from and they're not one is not the same as the other.
No, no, and it's very complimentary. Even you think about you think we have 4 or 5 main coffee shops, right, in
Mm,
downtown. And is there competition? Yeah, but not real. I mean, we collaborate with a lot of them
yeah.
actually. Um, but they're all unique,
Yeah.
right? You can go get the experience you have in this one is totally different from the
Mm,
experience you have in that one. So, even something, we talked earlier, coffee as a commodity,
yeah.
you can have multiple experiences all within a couple of blocks
Right.
just with that one commodity. Now, I want you to come to Fresh Start, but
Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery.
but we all have that, and we attract different customers,
Mhm.
right? So the people that go to one and prefer one have a whole different, you know, they're looking for something totally different
Right.
than the people that come to us, and then
Right.
there's people that go to both and
Right.
whatever, and it's just kind of neat. I've heard, and I don't know this from experience. This is the only business I've ever created, but I've heard that that's not typical in a downtown. A lot of times it's cutthroat
Mhm.
in other cities. Try to take out the competition,
Right.
stuff like that. And Delaware's not like that.
Yeah.
It's you'll see competitors that collaborate because we don't really look at it that way. And I've always had this philosophy. Like, it kind of started with my boys. My boys played travel baseball for years and years
Okay.
and years, right? And one of the things that really drove me nuts is when people would root for the other team to fail, right?
Yeah.
Drop it or
Yeah.
something like that. So I developed this philosophy that I always shared with my boys is like tearing others down doesn't lift you up,
Mhm.
right? And so I took that into business. It's like my goal isn't to eliminate the competition. Like I'm
Mm,
not gonna go tear you down,
right.
right? I need to elevate myself to the point where people will choose me,
Mm,
right? At least sometimes,
right.
maybe not every time, but at least try and give them an experience and a product that's worth coming back for.
Right.
So lift yourself up, so every business owner has the drive to get to be the best and
Mm,
whatever. It's not like not like we're all striving for mediocrity, but I don't see in Delaware that tear people down,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, I
I mean, I
definitely
see it
agree
on
with that.
those websites we talked about earlier,
Yep.
but those aren't the business owners. The business
Yeah.
owners will come to each other's defense, and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's something I've learned even in the wedding industry. There was for a while, and it's becoming more and more popular, is the hashtag like community over competition. Like competition's healthy. Like
makes you
cuz
better.
yeah, cuz it'll challenge you to grow and to think differently, and it'll
Yeah.
push you in areas you wouldn't expect to be pushed in for the benefit of growing. But there really is, and I'm 100% in agreement with you, like there really is something about when you can really commute with another business, you can be in community with them and help elevate each other, all across the board. There's 4 or 5 coffee shops. Like, what's it look like to bring in community? Yep, we're all in competition, but watch what happens when we all partner together to really, all of us,
Hmm.
become successful. And
Yeah.
yeah, I experience that a lot in the wedding industry. And yeah, so it's good.
Yeah. And back to that COVID epiphany, right? Doesn't matter if we're successful if everybody else fails.
Mm, that's true.
So,
That's true. I think on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery, located in downtown Delaware, Ohio. What is the best way? Let's say this video gets 1 million views.
that'd be good.
Where can people find Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery? And where can they get information about Fresh Start Cafe and Bakery?
So what I tell people is if you know where the Hamburger Inn is, we're 2 doors north to the left. You're facing Hamburger Inn, we're 2 doors to the left, right in the middle of the block, downtown Delaware. Um, FreshStartCafeandBakery.com. We have a website there. Pop in and see us.
And you're on
We're on
Facebook,
Instagram,
Instagram.
Facebook. Our
You repping
baristas
that?
have a
I'll
TikTok.
say you repping that TikTok yet?
No, our baristas have a TikTok, but it's a fun thing that they just do crazy videos on, and
Okay, I'll be sure to follow. I think TikTok is the only one I don't follow you on. So
yeah.
yeah,
But they play out there. It's not a business thing,
okay,
but
that's fun.
they represent us well. But
Good.
so yeah, so we're there on social media, and there's a back entrance if you're familiar with the public parking lot next to the BP,
Mm-hmm.
right? You go through that lot to the back and turn left, and that takes you over by our back entrance. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
just looking to quick park and jump and run in,
Yep.
if the street's full or something. And I think there's a 15-minute spot out front still
Cool.
left over. So
Awesome. I love it. Well, it was great having you, man. And again, appreciate you for coming to hang out. This is a good time.
absolutely. Thanks again for the opportunity.
There we go. Subscribe. Bears don't fly. Facebook. Trying to remember it. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the freaking platforms.